What I wish I learned from my liberal professors in California, in oh so liberal, crazy California. So I was at university in year 2000, year 2001, in oh so liberal California. And I had the biases that I inherited from my father during the Cold War. He was something of a history buff, and we watched a lot of political documentaries, historical documentaries, and he rightly pointed out that we were living through a really historic time in 1990 with the fall of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Cold War. But it was one-sided history. So I carried those biases with me when I was a young man. Um, the liberal professors, they could have given me a heads up before 9/11. They could have talked about these people who are in control, who were in control at the time. They didn't just come out of nowhere, the Bush Reagan guys. But the heads up that forget about even 9/11. I know that it's a learning curve, and not a lot of people, even on the left, were able to question the official account of 9/11, even though, according to their political colors, Bush was already a bad guy. But I wish they could have given me the heads up and given me the context to understand that there was a narco trafficking cartel that had moved into the White House. Actually, they've been there since 1980. Um, and it shows you just how half-baked a lot of the opposition to the Republican Party was in those days. Um, Kevin Ryan who was a 9/11 whistleblower, he blew the whistle about Steele, his company was charged with studying steel, and he realized it was fraud and he blew the whistle. But he's written an article, Kevin Ryan. It's on the International Center for 9/11 Justice website. That's the International Center for 9/11 Justice. I'm going to link to it in the comments. And the title of the article is Another 19, where he lists 19 people that any investigation into 9/11, we should start with him. And a lot of these names would be familiar, would be household names in the United States, people like Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld, but a lot of them wouldn't be household names, or they might be names that were vaguely associated with the Reagan-Bush administration. People like Richard Armitage and Frank Carlucci. Armitage and Carlucci, of course, they didn't come out of nowhere. They were part of this narco-trafficking cartel in the 1980s. We speak of the White House cartel, at least I do. We can speak of it this way from 1980 to 2008 because those people that controlled the government from the executive branch were trafficking cocaine and heroin, like Porter Goss. Porter Goss was head of the CIA during the 9/11 cover-up. I have a photograph of him in 1963 with Barry Seals at a Mexican nightclub. Arguably, Barry Seals, arguably the biggest narco trafficker of all time, now admitted CIA agent. What's he doing in a nightclub with the Watergate burglars and the future head of the CIA, Porter Goss, in 1963? When they go to arrest drug dealers, they don't wait for them to have their hands in the cocaine. It helps if they do, but they also look who are their associates, and they can get them for criminal association. But actually, when it comes to the Bush crime family and the Clinton crime network and all this syndicate American mafia stuff, we actually have a very, very clear evidence, overwhelming evidence and proof that but they were running drugs out of the White House. They were coordinating the flights. They were um, coordinating which military bases the ships and the airplanes would come to. They were working with mafia to distribute it. They always had the protection and the cover up. So this is what I would have liked to have got from my liberal professors, but some context for Iran-Contra. And once you see that these people like Richard Armitage, I always forget his name, Frank Carlucci, and others, Porter Goss, they didn't just come out of nowhere. They were part of this narco trafficking milieu. So I think the really revolutionary idea that if you're part of the cover up, if you're part of the cover up, then you're a co-conspirator and a participant. But sometimes I need to be reminded not to fall into the fallacy of thinking there's two sides in American politics. There's one side, there's one political party. But I had a lot of people tell me, even who ostensibly hated the Bush administration, they would say that I don't think that the Bush administration, even the Bush administration, would be capable of doing such a heinous thing. Now, is that wishful ignorance, or is that self-deception? What's the line between willful ignorance and self-deception? I could understand like until like 2003, maybe taking that line. Like I said, it's a learning curve. But after 2003, 2004, when all the books started being written and all the political documentaries about 9/11, there was really no excuse after that to still take the line. Then it's sadomasochism. Then we're in the abusive relationship with the state and this parent-child relationship. And it really showed the true colors of a lot of people that were ostensibly on the left, that they actually loved the abuse. They said they actually get kicks out of saddling up to the abusers.